is in fact such a study. It's a very large-scale one. It basically used the English peerage sample because they've got documented records of numbers of children, ages of children, when, and what they found was, yes, there's a consistent negative impact on female longevity correlated with the increasing number of children.
Yeah, I know that if you're getting up over a certain amount, yeah, you do.
Well, could that just be because of the increased rate of mortality due to childbirth?
Yes, that was prior to...
Yeah.
What time period was this?
Well, they took the entire English peerage over the last 800 years or so.
Okay, so possibly with modern healthcare.
There are differences in education level and income level and in different countries now, too.
Yeah.
Michael?
Actually, well, I did have a question. You said CR was the only thing that's been proven to extend the lifespan.
Well, there's some other...
I don't think anything's been proven.
Yeah,
I think
well...
CR seems to be proven working, and sort of some people say.
Well, there are ongoing studies with humans, but they're so long it hasn't been published yet.
There's lots of things you can't do studies on.
That was my impression
But
as well.
the
That
other
there's
thing
been evidence for obviously rodents, but the evidence for even the primates is still sort of too early.
There's been a lot of evidence from the primates already with the control group and the rate that diseases and dying at a higher rate. But there are studies on, many different areas other than rodents and, yeah.
Klaus has been waiting for a question for a long time.
Yes, many actually, but one thing I wanted to ask about was what about how do you deal with hunger and cravings and things like that? Do you have tricks for that, certain things you eat, or you just stick to a regimental diet, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah. That's the other thing I liked about living the CR way is that I had to go through an experiment with a lot of things that ended up, that working for me. Like somebody had mentioned eating every other day, and for me, the day if I fasted all day long, I would get too weak, and that didn't work for me. Now I normally, I'm not hungry in the morning or in the afternoon, and I don't get hungry until about 1 o'clock to sometime between 1 and 3, and then if I'm getting hungry, I will have tea or do something like chewing gum, and I guess, just something, or distracting myself at that time, and then it's easy for me to get through to, the planning and the making of the dinner. So that's worked better for me. But some other people do a really large meal in the morning, or they, parcel out throughout the day.
How does that affect the energy level and do you exercise?
Oh yeah, I do an average of 5 miles a day. So
there's more in the Living the CR Way discusses this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Question down here at the front.
Sorry, I'm Steve, by the way. I'm just trying to get my head around this a little bit, but in terms of metrics, you've explained that you feel a lot better through the diet that you've been following, and that it's helped you through your family and stuff. Do you have a feeling of how many years extra you are likely to live having followed this diet?
Well, I personally have a feeling on that, but that's because, as I said, I lost 85 pounds.
Beyond weight loss, I mean.
Well, I was tired a lot of the time, and I had chronic knee pain, and my eyesight was poor, and after I had lost the weight, I couldn't. Before, I wasn't able to pass the eyesight test for a driver's license, and after I was, and my knee pain went away, and I had a lot more energy. So for me, I saw a very large difference there. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, asking me, I also have a lot of radiation, I guess, in my background. I've had 24 abdominal surgeries. So that was from the ages of 4 months to 6 years, being my last when I was younger. So yeah, it's hard to say.
Question in the front.
Yes, I have a question about fertility, as was touched upon. Is it known that the CR diet may affect the fertility, specifically of women?
Yeah, some people think that you can extend, because it's been shown to extend the amount of time that one is fertile in other species. I do know that when I was, like I said, that 10 pounds made a big difference for me when I was down between 112 and 115. I stopped menstruation at that level and just going up the 10 pounds that then resumed, but it does, yes, I guess it does.
So specifically, if a woman wants to have a baby, perhaps they should take a break from living the CR way for a while, or?
Oh, that's another thing that you would, there's some things you could do to increase your fertility, and I think a CR outlook on that would be, you would be increasing your avocado and your dairy fats or your whole fats. You would just look at how to optimally, that increases your chances of getting pregnant, the amount of fat that you have, so you would do it in a healthy way.
So there's at least 5 people waiting to ask questions. Dirk, next.
In animal studies, does calorie restriction increase the average lifespan or the maximal lifespan?
That's the, I think it's average.
So basically, you're getting an increase in longevity simply because you're not dying of diabetes or stroke or heart attack.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually extend the maximum time.
No, I thought CR did extend maximum.
It does do maximum, but that's the 2 to 10% bit. That's what comes out to being. It's not. Some people think, well, it's only 10 years, or since it's not 30 years, it's not worth it for me to live like this. That's.
Phil?
Also decrease the risk of having diabetes or cancer in the first place.
Sorry, I'm just looking for Phil.
Okay, yeah, there's been a number of, I think, competing motivations that I've heard from your talk so far. One of them has been self-improvement, the sort of sense of liberation which CR has given you. The other is that it perhaps is a laying of a bet. So therefore you say, I will undertake these actions, and therefore I may be able to provide myself with a beneficial outcome in terms of cryogenics technology or whatever. You then mentioned that there's a series of costs, one of the costs being essentially you can't do CR effectively and perhaps give birth to a child. I'm sure there are also other costs as well, in the sense of, in order to undertake this sort of lifestyle, which I suspect only applies to a subset of the population, one which is fairly self-disciplined, which is interested, which is self-selecting. My question here is, do you feel that apart from perhaps the fertility aspect, leading up to the chapter down there, are there other costs, other goals, other plans which you perhaps might have entertained, which you would no longer do so because you've undertaken this particular route, laid down this series of bets?
No.
No. You've been able to live life to the full.
Well, I just finished up. I've been doing roller derby for a couple of years. I still do things, and and to me, it's not. I don't know the whole being a bet thing. I'm leaving like 5 times as much to my children and to nonprofits that I support than I am for Cryonics. So, and what I see is that with Cryonics currently, the preservation that's used is being tested and developed for the transport of organs for people to stay alive today. Organ donors, we really need a much better way to transport organs, and there are other things that Cryonics supports. Money going back into the local community where the facility is and things like that. But I'm personally, I think we didn't get into, but I'm also a Unitarian Universalist, and I've been teaching religious education for the past 7 years, and the religious education that we do is teaching children about Islam and Judaism and Christianity and paganism and Buddhism, and and also looking at psychology